Hey, welcome to worshiptutorials.com. We've got a pedal board in front of us. This video has been highly requested from you guys, and it's one that I've been wanting to make for quite a while. I built this board a few months ago. It's been longer than that now. We did a feature on it on the website. I'll link that below. But many of you asked me about my choice of delay pedal that I put on this board. So this video is about the Boss DD-500. I have grown to love this delay pedal. I have bonded with this pedal more than I have with any other delay ever that I have ever used. I have a bit of a history with the Boss delays. I was one of the DD-20, like, you know, the dual pedal delay. I used that thing for years. I really liked it. And the DD-500 really does feel like sort of an evolution of that pedal. I think Boss knocked it out of the park. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of my favorite sounds. I'm not going to go through every algorithm on the pedal. There are lots of videos out there that'll do that if you want to look that up. I'm just going to show you some of my favorite sounds, how I have set it up, how I'm using it with this board, and you know what I really love about it. And we'll jump into some global settings, the way I've got it set up, things like that. The other thing that many of you have asked for are presets. So, linked below, I have made available a preset pack of 25 delays. They range from like standard utility type delays, you know, quarter note, eighth note, dotted eighth note stuff. We've got dual stereo delays, and I even delved into some weird pattern delays. The Tera echo, awesome sound. You're gonna hear these sounds all throughout this video, but hit that link below where you can check those out. So right off the top, I want to tell you some of my absolute favorite things about this pedal. One, the way it sounds. I think the fidelity of the delays, the way they sound, the way they have emulated classic analog hardware delays. It does pretty much everything, and even things that you would never think delays could or should do. This pedal does it. So I love how flexible it is, how tweakable it is, and also how simple it is. I love the layout. This is not the only delay on my board because I have an H9 that does delay, I have a micro pitch that does delay, but it's pretty much the only thing I use for delay. I don't use the Eventide delays, although they are amazing sounding. The DD-500 pretty much handles everything. And so when you can have one delay pedal, and if you know the praise and worship genre, you know that we love our delays. And many times people have 2, 3 plus delays on their board. I feel the DD-500 can handle pretty much anything I need delay-wise on this board. So the way that you can set it up, you can run 2 delays at the same time, A and B, or you can set it up where A and B switch between 2 different delays. The way that you can navigate through the pedal, like banking up and down, it's very simple. So the simplicity of it and the usability of it is great. You can even set it up so these are all 3 different delays, and then you can send tap to it from something else. I'm sending tap to it from a Morningstar controller, but all that to say, the sound, the fidelity of it, the tweakability of it, but also its simplicity, and then its utility, how well it functions as the only delay on your board and how easy it is to use it just on its own as the only delay that you would ever need. I love it. All right, so I'm going to take a bit of time now and show you how I have it set up and give you an idea of the different options that you can have with this delay. So if you hit the edit button, it brings up this menu, and you have all kinds of different parameters that you can control. So if you go into the patch menu, you can change everything about the individual delay patch that you're using. But let's go down to the system menu, and you can see some of the options that you get when you set the pedal up. So here in the system menu, you've got some options concerning like the contrast, what the display looks like. If you come down here, first thing that you might be interested in is the way it outputs. So you select an option, and then this knob changes the different things. So you can go stereo, you can go output A is direct and B is the effects. So if you're like a wet dry setup, you can do that. So different options there for the output of the pedal. I'm running it in stereo, and for the purposes of this video today, I'm running this board into the Quad Cortex using captures of my Vox AC30 and the Marshall JTM45 that we had for a little bit and then traded it for a pretty awesome guitar. Anyway, so I have this set up in a stereo configuration. So the bypass mode you can change from true bypass to buffered bypass. I am choosing to go in buffered bypass. One of the things that you might be interested in, the foot switch mode, normal, ABC, or AB simultaneous. So this pedal will let you just run the delay that's in slot A or the delay that's in slot B, and then there are multiple banks, so you can store lots of presets. Maybe I'll put it on the screen here how many presets you can put in this thing, but right now you're in bank 1, you've got A and B, bank 2, A and B. That's how I have it set. You can set it up so that the display will show you both delays, what is in A and B, and then you can turn them both on at the same time. So you can run 2 delays at once, which is different than their dual delay algorithm. That is one preset that has 2 delays going at the same time. So you can actually do the dual delay with a different delay at the same and have 3 delays going at the same time if you wanted to. So I suspect a lot of people are probably going to use that AB simult mode. I'm just going to demonstrate it right now. So I've got it selected. We're going to exit out, and now what you can see, I'm in bank 1. My A delay is a quarter note tape delay, and my B delay is a dotted eighth tape delay. So I'm just going to play something. I'll tap in a tempo. So it's got my tempo tapped in. It's showing me the milliseconds on there, but it is 88 BPM according to the Morningstar. So that's the quarter note delay. Here's the dotted eighth delay. And now if I wanted to, I can run both of those at the same time, so now they're both on. So the DD-500 has just a ton of different options. It's really well thought out in how you can use this with lots of different rigs. And the manual really helped me understand how I could get a pedal like that has this many options, this powerful, really easily set up for this rig that I am using. All right, so I've got it back in the standard setup with the button layout. I'm just gonna go through some of these different sounds, and these are gonna be the delays that you get if you download the delay pack from Worship Tutorials. In the playing samples that you've been listening to, I've been labeling what they are. Those are also the delays that are available. But I'm just gonna kind of show you some of the standard sounds, and then we'll go to the more weird, I guess, or the more interesting or creative. Now, for the purpose of this, these samples just in this part of the video, I've got a UA Golden on the board, and I've got it in a basic, let me turn the delay off. It's just a basic plate kind of a sound. Okay, the only other thing that's on is the compressor, the Empress Compressor Mark II, and again, I'm running that into the Neural Quad Cortex. I'm using a Shelton SkyFlite 4. Love this guitar, Strat style guitar. It's pretty awesome. Let's look at, this is the quarter note tape delay, and this is what it sounds like. For the sake of demonstration, let's hop into this delay and show you some of the things that you can do if you edit this patch. All right, so the mode is tape. You can see that you can change any of the modes here. The time I have set to quarter note, so you can set it to a BPM or a note value. Now, this is cool with the tape delay, the tape echo. You have different types. So not only do you have these algorithms across the top, but you have options within those algorithms. So with the tape delay, you can run the Echo Rec, Echo R, I assume that's Echo Rec. You can run the Echo P, I assume that's Echo Plex. These are just different types of vintage tape delays. Or you can run the RE201, which I believe is a sort of a vintage Boss classic. So you have 3 different options. And then within that, you have options as far as the heads. So if you're familiar with what a tape delay, how it works, they have different tape heads. And so you can get different, basically it's like more delays that you can get. So now we're on head 1, 2, and 3. You hear that? Doom, 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 doom. So you can really customize this. Apart from that, you have like these controls, the feedback, the tone, the level, the modulation depth, modulation rate, modulation mode, multiple different types of modulation in here. How much wow and flutter is there on the tape, so you can make it an old grungy sounding tape or a new pristine sounding tape. Contrary to popular belief, tape delays, when they're new and in great condition, they're actually pretty bright with a lot of fidelity. But the older tape delays have, they degrade and they get kind of crunchy, and sometimes in ways that sound awesome. So you can emulate all of that, which we have done with these delays of ours in here. And then you've got multiple EQ sections as well. So you can damp the lows, the highs, you can just EQ it, you can duck it, you can pan it different ways, all kinds of options. And again, you don't have to jump into this for any of these delays, but you can if you want. So the way they're set up, when you just pull up one of the delays, I feel like they sound really good. But if you want something different out of it, you can do it, as long as you know what all this stuff is. And again, the manual has a great description of how you can modify all these things, but it's pretty common stuff if you're used to tweaking these kind of things. All right, so that is the quarter note tape delay. Next is the dotted eighth note tape delay, and it's kind of the same story. That quarter note had a bit of modulation, kind of a worn tape feel. Same with the dotted eighth. Sounds great. I love the way these things sound. Now, to get to your next set of delays, you can bank up with these 2 buttons or bank down with these 2 buttons. So I'm going up because I'm on bank 1. So bank, hit the wrong button. Bank 2, and then you can either select A or B. That's the standard mode. So in bank 2, I have an analog 8th note delay. So an analog delay is going to roll the highs off a bit. I love to use an eighth note delay, like an analog warm eighth note delay, because it kind of adds this just bed underneath what you play. It's different than a reverb. It's interesting, like if you listen to James Duke talk about tone, he uses delays more than he uses reverb to get ambient sounds, and it's a different texture. So the analog delays in here get that done. And again, I'm not going to go through all the settings for all the delay algorithms. That would take forever. But you can tweak and tweak and tweak to your heart's content. It's pretty great. In B, I've got one of the first dual delay that I use. So I have a dotted eighth, or a quarter and a dotted eighth analog. So I have that set up that it bounces on the stereo field. So the quarter note delay is on one side, the dotted eighth is on the other. So it's you also might have noticed that that analog sound was brighter than my eighth note analog sound. It just shows you can tweak it. One thing I do want to illustrate in the way you can edit the dual delay algorithm, and it is one of the algorithms, dual. When you go to edit it, you can change each delay individually. Now you can't, let's just go into the patch and edit it. Now you can't edit, everything like you could if it were one of the delays, but you can change the mode, so A, B, series, or parallel. So I've got it set up for parallel basically, so they don't feed into one another. Now, delay 1, you have two options for the type. You can go analog or tape. All right, so you can get different sounds with the different delays. Then you've got the level. Then you can set the B delay to be different. So if you want delay A or delay 1 to be analog and delay 2 to be tape, you can set it up that way if you'd like. Okay. And you can set up the repeats and the levels for each delay individually. So it's a really great way to run a dual delay. You get a lot of options with it. And if you're like me, I really like the standard setup, and you can still get dual delays just using one at a time. All right, moving on. Okay, for bank 3, we have one of my favorite delays in this whole thing. Was something I wasn't expecting at all. It's the Tera delay. Now, I've demonstrated the Tera delay in one of the playing samples, but this is what it does. And you hear that and you might think, what the heck would you use that for? But it's really cool. Like, I'm gonna turn the reverb off, so there's nothing on the board except for compression and the DD-500 with the Tera algorithm. And if you just play like ambient kind of stuff, it sounds like a big ambient reverb. Check this out. That is so good. It's like, it's a different texture than like this black hole from Eventide that I have sitting next to the DD-500. I love the way that sounds. It's my go-to delay setting for ambient swells. The way it just adds this other texture of movement. It's like, it does that. So it's like this feeling of movement, but it doesn't, it's not like it choruses with pitch or anything like that. Like the pitch doesn't feel like it's ever not what it's supposed to be. I don't know. They nailed it with that Tera delay. It's one of my favorites. It's included in the WT DD-500 pack. All right, moving on. This is a dotted eighth delay with the analog setting with modulation. So you can add a lot of modulation to these delays if you want and really make them kind of spacey sounding. Turn my reverb back on. It sounds like this. So it's analog, so you're losing that high end, but then it's like, wah, 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 you know, it gets that modulation sound. Really great for adding texture to things. So this is the analog. Moving on to bank 4, there's another dual delay, this time with an eighth note and a dotted eighth note, so you can set the subdivisions of each delay differently. And it's analog, but I've got it set so that it retains a lot of the clarity on the high end. I want to talk about the digital delay. So I demonstrated it, here it is, and I demonstrated it one of the playing samples. Like if you want the edge type sound, they have a vintage digital, it's called vintage digital algorithm, and it really does nail that. So what am I at, 91 BPM? That's close enough. So it retains the clarity on the top end. We've added some modulation to this one, and it really does get that U2, Streets Have No Name type of thing. Vintage digital algorithm. One of the things that I love about these algorithms is they all sound pretty different, and they're all very unique. So if you just keep going through the bank, you see I've got some, you know, more of just different algorithms with different types of different subdivisions. Here's a reverse delay. Reverse delay is a really fun one to use, but you got to set it up just right, and it is locked into a tempo. Now, if you are a big fan of reverse delay, this is probably a situation where I would use the AB simultaneous mode, and I'd put another delay in parallel with the reverse. And so they don't play off one another, but you hear them, and it creates a really cool texture again. I'm using the word texture a lot. That's how I feel about delays. That's what they give you. Okay, so this is moving into the more weird stuff. They have a filter delay. So I've created this subtle filter. It's going to kind of move around. Worn tape wash is another one of my favorite sounds. It uses multiple tape heads. So that's the 3 tape head, dunk, 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 and I've set it up so it's like this really old gnarly tape kind of a thing. It's a great wash underneath what you're playing. Again, it almost sounds like reverb underneath there, especially with the modulation that's in it that moves around. Another thing that the DD-500 does are pattern delays. And so they have some preset patterns, and included in the pack, here are some of my favorite ones. And I've shown this off in one of the playing samples, but these patterns will play and they will lock into your tempo as well. So here's my tap. So those can be a lot of fun to play around with if you want to get creative with patterns. All right, so a few more things in conclusion regarding the DD-500. Talk a little bit about, I've zoomed out so you can see the whole board here. Talk a little bit about how I'm controlling this thing. I am using MIDI to control the pedal pretty much the whole time. I don't ever really touch the delay itself, which is a really cool thing if you are into the MIDI thing. So I use the Morningstar MC8, and I just have different delays programmed into it. I have 3 on this preset on the MC8. I've got the Tera. So you just push a button and it jumps you to that delay. You can turn it, you can set it to bypass on and off. Then I've got my basic quarter note delay, my basic dotted eighth note delay. Those are pretty much the delays that I use. And then, I've got all those other delays that I have set programmed in, kind of specialty type delays, a little more, warbly, modded delays, that kind of thing. And it's very easy to access those in different presets using MIDI if you want to do that kind of thing. And the pedal itself has a pretty robust MIDI menu that you can set up. It was not hard to get that thing set up with MIDI. And actually, I'm kind of a MIDiot. Is that a word I just made up? MIDI is not, I'm getting better at it. You would think like as much time as I spend like in the Helix land and fractal stuff, Kemper, MIDI, but MIDI is a much older thing. And so the approach is a little different. It kind of took me a while to wrap my brain around it, but the DD-500 was really a breeze to set up with MIDI. A few more notes about the delays, the DD-500, and the pack that you get. You might have noticed I have this on my board after the drives, but I'm running all of the wet effects, the reverbs, delays, everything with this board running into the amp. So if you download this pack, the pedal is set up assuming it's going to run into an amp. If you run your delays in an effects loop, or if you run them after your amps, say you have an HX Stomp, I could put an HX Stomp right here, I'd have to take something out, but say you have an HX Stomp and you run wet effects after it, the delays that come, these presets, you might need to tweak them a little bit. You probably will want to, if you're running your wet effects post amp, you want to increase the mix. In my experience, when you set your wet effects in front of an amp, you need to decrease the mix because the amp is going to sort of amplify those. That's just the way it works. And if you put it after, you retain more of the clarity and the pristine nature of the delays and reverbs, but you'll want to push the mix up a little bit so they can be heard a little more. So that's how I have mine set up. I really love the way these delays interact with amps, with actual amps. Today I'm running Quad Cortex. If you run into Stomp or Kemper or Axe Effects, I feel like these delays sound really good going into an amp. And that's not something that you can say about every delay. I can't say that about every delay that I've tried in the past. Like I said before, I've really grown to love the DD-500. I feel like I can get pretty much anything out of it that I want. On the pedal itself, just using the on pedal menus and knobs and buttons, it's really an intuitive thing. Now, I have also downloaded and used the editor, and the DD-500 editor gives you access to everything. Well, you have access to everything on the pedal itself, but the editor puts it all in front of you in a graphical user interface and a GUI. It's a pretty utilitarian looking thing, but it is actually really functional, and it allows you to manage your presets. You'll need the editor. If you download this preset pack, you will need the editor to get these presets onto your DD-500, but it really unlocks the whole pedal, and you can change anything about the pedal from the editor itself. It's a nice touch to have an editor available for something like this, for a delay computer. It's a nice thing to have. We're going to be doing more features on pedals. I was talking to Bradford just today, and he told me that it's one of the only pedals he can say this about, the Empress delay. He's like, there is no other delay I want to use than the Empress delay. So maybe Bradford will do a feature on that. Maybe we'll have some presets for that stuff as well. But if there are other pedals on this board that you want to see more of a deep dive on, let me know. I would be happy to do it. I'm going to do some stuff with the H9 because that thing does just so much, and I've really enjoyed exploring that as well. I'm a huge fan of the Eventide stuff. Of course, we did the UA stuff. Their delay, the Starlight, is an incredible sounding delay, but it's a different thing entirely than like the DD-500, which is a delay computer that you can control remotely. The Starlight is not that kind of a thing, but it is an awesome delay in its own right. Thank you so much for watching. Again, links below where you can download these presets if you are interested. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.